Geologists have closely analyzed two bizarre blobs detected deep inside the Earth. Earth's interior is not a uniform stack of layers. Deep in its thick middle layer lie two colossal blobs of thermochemical material. To this day, scientists still don't know where both of these colossal structures came from or why they have such different heights. But a new set of geodynamic models has landed on a possible answer to the latter mystery. And if you notice the rotating 3D view of Earth's blobs, you'll see that one is over the Pacific Ocean, the other one is on the side of Eastern Africa. That's basically what's causing also the Great Rift Valley, sloughing off the eastern part of Africa. So this is still a mystery as to where they're coming from. These hidden reservoirs located on opposite sides of the world, one in the African Indian Ocean, the other side on the Pacific. So they're on opposite sides, and judging from the deep propagation of seismic waves, the blob under the African continent is more than twice as high as the one under the Pacific Ocean. After running hundreds of simulations, the authors of the new study think the blob under the African continent is less dense and less stable than its Pacific counterpart, and that's why it's so much taller. They said, the geologist explains, Quan Yuan of Arizona State University says our calculations found that the initial volume of the blobs does not affect their height. The height of the blobs is mostly controlled by how dense they are and viscosity of the surrounding mantle. One of the principal layers inside the Earth is the hot and slightly goopy mess known as the mantle. It's a layer of silicate rock that sits just between our planet's core and its crust. And while the mantle is mostly solid, it behaves sort of like tar on longer time scales. And over time, columns of hot magma rock gradually rise through this mantle and are thought to contribute to the volcanic activity of our planet's surface. Understanding what's going on in the mantle is an important endeavor in geology. The Pacific and African blobs were first discovered in the 1980s. In scientific terms, these super plumes are known as large low shear velocity provinces, or LLSVPs. And compared to the Pacific LLSVP, a current study from the African LLSVP stretches about 1,000 kilometers higher, that's 621 miles higher, which supports previous estimates. The vast height differences suggest both of these blobs have different compositions. How this impacts the surrounding mantle is not clear, though. Perhaps the less stable nature of the African pile, for instance, can explain why there is such intense volcanism in regions of that continent. Along, as we said, the area of the Great Rift Valley has faults and, of course, volcanoes all around there. And we've had recent earthquakes, 4.5, 5 plus magnitudes, all the way from South Africa all the way up to Egypt recently. All along, of course, that the Great Rift Valley. So it could also impact the movement of tectonic plates which float on the mantle. Other seismic models have found that the African LLSVP stretches up to 1,500 kilometers above the outer core, whereas the Pacific LLSVP reaches 800 kilometers high at maximum. In lab experiments that seek to replicate Earth's interior, both the African and Pacific piles appear to oscillate up and down through the mantle. The authors of the current study say this supports their interpretation that the African LLSVP, the blob that is probably unstable, and the same could go for the Pacific LLSVP through their models, though their models did not show this. The different compositions of the African and Pacific LLSVPs could also be explained by their origins. Scientists still don't know where these blobs are coming from, but there are two main theories. One is that the piles, these blobs, are made from subducted tectonic plates, which slip into the mantle, are superheated, and gradually fall downwards, contributing to the blobs. Another theory is that the blobs are remnants of the ancient collision between Earth and the protoplanet Theia, which gave rise to our moon. So these are all theories. The theories are not mutually exclusive. For instance, perhaps Theia contributed more to one blob, and this could be part of the reason why they look so different today. Juan says, our combination of the analysis of seismic results and the geodynamic modeling provides new insights on the nature of the Earth's largest structures in the deep interior and their interaction with the surrounding mantle, he said. This work has far-reaching implications for scientists trying to understand the present-day status and the evolution of the deep mantle structure and the nature of mantle convection. The study was published in the journal Nature Geoscience, and it's on Science Alert by Carly Casella. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.